Welcome back to another episode with the Art of Football 365. This is episode 47, and as you can see, we are joined by an additional person, and it's not Josh Bisker. He will not be recording with us tonight, but we're joined by Jamia Green with Channel 13 WREX. So before we get started, I'm going to ask her a quick question. Kind of just tell our audience what it is that you do with Channel 13 at WREX.
All right. Hello, I'm Jamia. I'm a photog is what they call me, like photographer. So I go out and get video, probably like 5 assignments a day, just back to back to back. And I get interviews all day, video, um, shoot people's live shots, just meet a whole bunch of new people. It's pretty great. Hopefully moving up to that reporter position soon. So we'll see about that.
All right. All right. Well, check out our three sponsors 312 Beef and Sausage, Bacher Auto Group, and Driftless Quality Wear. Support them just like they support us. And most importantly, Gronk Spike our subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave a like and leave a comment. We love the feedback, love to hear from you guys, and all that good stuff. But Jamia's here with us. She's going to be chilling, and just listening to our conversation today. Uh, but today we're going to be talking about serving our community, serving your community, no matter what community you are a part of. We want to have that discussion today and kind of touch on a personal side for Gannon and I, how we've kind of impacted our individual community uh, as far as doing this podcast. So, Gannon, what do you got to say? Actually, no, hold up. It's For the Cause Friday. We forgot our quotes again. And
Yeah, we've been. Oh, yeah, that's a rough one.
I'm going to put
Maybe
you on the
we
spot.
maybe we should challenge ourselves to think of one as we record it, and we'll finish with that this week. How's that sound?
It's fine with me. What is
All right, so you want me to dive into it? First off, I'd like to thank Jamia for joining us. Do a lot of hard work. You guys will stay tuned for all that. But yeah, impacting the community is something that I think that Bryce and I really we thought was going to be something that we were going to do with this podcast, and now it's kind of turned into one of our staples of our podcast. That's been the really cool part, and I think just letting it get onto this camera and kind of tell their story for 30, 40 minutes is really beneficial and does a lot for not only for our channel and our podcast, but for our community, which we both live and grew up along with Jamia all in Freeport. So that's a really cool part about it. But it's also interesting. I kind of want to dive into that later, so let me not talk about that right now. But kind of, Bryce, what do you think? Like, kind of just wrap up the last 6 months. What do you think the impacting the community has done for our podcast and the community on the flip side?
Yeah, well, for me personally, I mean, I just want to start off by saying, like, the community that we are a part of, the 815 community, lately, you've seen specific athletes such as Fred Van Vliet. You've seen, uh, just to name some other guys, you've seen James Robinson playing with the Jacksonville Jaguars now. So you're starting to see these 815 people succeed in their specific realms of whatever they do. And it's been amazing. And I guess, in a sense, I just wanted to be a part of that. And I wanted to have a success story. I wanted to, instead of, like we mentioned last podcast, instead of people coming up to me asking me what I'm going to do, they're going to know what I'm going to do because I'm going to put it out there, and they're going to see it, they're going to hear it. And it may be annoying at times, but I couldn't care less because it's just what I want to do. It makes me happy. And I think that's what community means. I think you need to have a sense of happiness throughout your community to be able to have those success stories. But for this podcast in particular, I think it's impacted our community for the better because, like Gannon said, we're getting these athletes involved. Like, when have you ever seen high school athletes come on and get interviewed around our
Mm-hmm.
area, specifically in the Freeport area? You just don't see it happen. They get the recognition. Kyle Kampmeyer over with the NUIC football page and his wife Carrie, they've done a fantastic job of giving recognition to high school athletes and surrounding business areas, handing out Player of the Week T-shirts and all that. But for them to come on and have a spotlight, have an interview, and get to express their gratitude for being able to play a sport they love and share their story, it means everything to me, and it's only going to help Gannon and I for our future endeavors with what we want to do in the sports world. So, to me, in
I
order to have success, you got to impact your community. Go ahead.
I think the cool thing about it is some of the guys that we've gotten on have not been as comfortable as other people on air just talking. And I think we really have seen people that maybe Bryce and I were like kind of shocked by just how great it went. We didn't think that they were going to do bad specifically, but just how much they grew through a 30, 40-minute episode with them. And it's no knock. I mean, we have a news reporter here, but like sometimes the news reporters and those things are, 5 minutes tops. And it give them the congratulations for the success on the field, but that 30 to 40 minutes of in-depth, you really get to know the person. And that's the cool thing about this, that we know that there's so many people in the A15 area that have stories that need to be told. And that's why we're doing this, because we didn't feel like there was enough outlets for that to be had. And like,
which is one
Bryce
of the many reasons.
Yeah,
why.
and that's one of the many ones. And I think that's the cool thing. That's one of the things we picked up as we've gone along with this. That wasn't one of our first couple of things of why we started it, but it's evolved into 6 months of that. And it's really cool that it's part of the thing that we're doing.
Yeah, and I think you proved a valid point right there in mentioning like no knock on news reporters by any means, but like their job is to cover.
It's a different form of the media. Yeah, it's a different form.
It's to cover a team, whether it's a sectional championship game, and a news reporter's there to cover a team. Whereas with us, like we're sitting down with these players after they have a successful season, and we get to interview them one-on-one. And I think that goes a long way in helping them understand like they've had success and they deserve their credit. They deserve to speak what's on their mind. Whether you're an athlete going to play in college or not, having a 4-year successful high school career is enough for us to be willing to talk to you and listen to you. And quite honestly, like I wouldn't be opposed to having like an 8th grader on here that just wanted to come on here and talk about sports. Like that's what we do this for. We do it for the love of the game. And I think that's how you impact your community the most, by involving everybody. Like no one should be discluded from a community. Like equality goes far in a sense that like in order to be a successful community, there has to be equality. There has to be somewhere along the lines of respect for each and every single person in your community. No one should be disbanded for no reason by any means. And that's why I'd be willing to have anybody on this podcast.
Yeah.
And
I think the cool thing about it with Bryce and I is, like I mentioned, kind of, we talked about it before, we're really similar but not similar with growing up in athletics, because we were all the way up until high school, and then kind of both when we went our separate ways, with Bryce going to Akron and me going to Freeport. There's both different positives and negatives that we had from going to those schools that I think have really helped gel this podcast. But for me personally, that's kind of one of the cool things. And I know Bryce, just the town in Freeport as a whole, sometimes gets the bad rap. It gets negative. They're undersized for the Nick 10 sports. It's not always good enough. That's what a lot of people aren't happy with. They're not satisfied with what coaches or whatever the athletic programs are doing. And there's good coaches and there's good people running those things. And I know that's something that we talked about here and something that needs to be brought about. Just there are shining spots out of the Freeport and all the surrounding areas. The whole A15 is kind of community when we're talking about this, not just Freeport where we're all from. And it really makes me happy. I know it makes Bryce, but just the different backgrounds that we have going to different high schools. I know me personally, that really just excites me and it gets me fired up.
Yeah, I think personally for me, like I want to share a quick story that actually I encountered last night. I'm at a graduation party in the middle of nowhere out in Rock City. I mean, people go out there, but like to me, it's the middle of nowhere. But I'm out there, graduation party, and I'm seeing people that I've never really even talked to before. But then one person who went to my high school, Sophie Bruner's sister, I'm going to say that. I'm not trying to like disclude her name, but everyone knows Sophie Bruner around this area as a WNBA basketball player. But her sister Ellen came up to me, and I haven't talked to this girl since I was in high school, or shoot, I would have been in junior high when she was in high school. And for her to come up to me and just talk about this podcast, like it meant like, wow, like this is reaching areas that I would have never expected. And that's what a community is. Like for these people to come back that don't even live around this area anymore and still have that positivity towards you, is the feeling is just, it's, you can't put it into words in all reality. Like that's just kind of how I feel about it.
It makes those bad days good, especially when you don't kind of want to get into it. If not, sometimes it's not always good. We got to be honest. It's not like we hate it some days, but some days you just don't feel like recording or talking about it. You just kind of want to keep doing what you're doing on your normal day. But that's the cool thing with this. You get those little things, like when Bryce and I donated each the $500 or whatever the exact amount was to Ackwood and the football and the Freeport football programs. And then we got the note from Coach Devin. That was really personal, and I thought that was really cool. That just it kind of feels like you're doing something. You don't always need a pat on the back, but those little gestures just kind of it just keeps you wanting more and more from this podcast. And I know Bryce feels the same way with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, in all reality, I don't need a pat on the back. I don't need.
No,
someone...
I'm just saying those little things.
Yeah,
it feels like you're doing something. That's the cool thing about it.
Yeah, no, it feels great. But like what I'm saying about that, like getting a pat on the back, I don't need. I don't need constant supporters. I don't need someone who's going to come up and push me to keep going, because in all reality, if you want to do something in life, it's got to be individually driven. You got to be willing to do it yourself, and then you're going to continue to wrap up these supporters, and next thing you know, you're going to have a whole community behind you. And I think that's what you're starting to see happen, even though we're only a couple months into this, and there's still obviously some people out there that may not take us seriously, or may just not even want to listen because it's just Bryce and Gannon, and people might look at us as, oh, these 20-year-old kids just doing something, and it's not. We're not specified media reporters like Jamia is. We don't have that title on us, but we're just out here in a Zoom, talking. So there is gonna be people that are like that, and that's okay. That's okay, because you're gonna have people within your community that have your back, and we have those people. We have that support system, and that's, to me, like, now I kind of want to talk about like what is a community. We've talked about how we want to like serve that community, and I'll get into more some examples of what our plans are down the road for serving our individual community and how you could help serve your community. But to me, a community is, it could be three people in all reality. It could be two. I mean, not two, maybe, but three to five people, and then and it expands all the way to your whole area. It could be the whole town of Freeport, Illinois, or it could be a group of 5 to 10 people. A community really is just people who are gathered around you, constantly supporting you, constantly having a voice in your ear, pushing you to keep going. Uh, what do you think it means, Gannon? See your roommate popping up behind you.
Yeah, he always likes to make a guest appearance on our Zoom calls. It's college dorm life right there for you guys. But no, I think the biggest thing is there's no capstone on a community side. And that's the cool thing. There's a community that I got down here at school with just our baseball team, just the university, just the community that's supporting us now with us going to the World Series. Those are all different pods, communities, whatever you want to call it. They come in all different shapes and forms, and that's the cool thing with like Bryce with the NUIC playing in that with the smaller schools. There's also that with me at Freeport and the Nick 10, and that's just the different type of things that intervene for the community. But there's a lot of different ways, like Bryce said, to get into it. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, and one of the things I've stressed, we've talked about this on the podcast, we haven't had to just dig out of our own pocket and pay for all this to get to where we're at. A lot of this comes free, and it's just been really minimal expenses on our part, and it's helped with the community on our fundraisers for our wristbands. It's helped, but it's so little in cost compared to other stuff that people think it costs a lot of money to start this, and it's really anybody that just wants to get into it.
Well, that's a valid point you just made right there. Like all the stuff that we have, like this microphone, it wouldn't be here without the community. It wouldn't be here without the support. It wouldn't be here without, like, in all reality, it wouldn't be here without their money. And like that's just a rude way to say it, I guess, but I don't mean it like that. What I mean it is like these people are willing to give their hard work, hard earned cash to us for a cause. And our cause is to impact that community, and they're willing to give back to that community, give back to the younger generation, which, I mean, like I've said a couple podcasts, like we are a younger generation, but I do feel about 40 years old, but that's a topic for a different day. We can dive into. But
well, if you're 40, I don't know how old that makes Jamia then, but she's muted. We won't let her answer that question.
Yeah, no, we don't talk about that.
But to me, serving my community with this podcast, I know that we have some plans coming up this summer with Amber, who owns Wayside Saloon. We're gonna have like a deal day out there, so that'll just that's another thing. It brings the community together. While you're serving a community, you're bringing them together. You're bringing people of all different backgrounds, all different races, all different religions. You're bringing these people together to get to know each other. and that's what it's going to take to build a tight knit community. So that's what I want to do: bring people together, especially in Freeport, Illinois. Like the last couple of weeks, we've seen some. There's been some dark days in Freeport, Illinois, the last couple of weeks with um, outside incidents that like we don't really need to dive into, but that we got to. In order to fix those, you got to bring the community back together and stop allowing negative circumstances to decide where this community is going. Uh, but the wayside thing, I'll get more details on that later as we talk to Amber about that. But I think that's just another. It's a good idea that I think having like a deal day, burgers, chips, whatever it is, hot dogs, chips, and come and grab a nice cold beer or whatever you want. But um, just bringing people together. That's what I want to do. It makes me happy, makes my heart full. Uh, I love seeing the support. I love seeing the feedback, whether it's negative or positive. It's going to help us get better. And then I also want to do something I want to do something close to like a food drive. Get some like canned goods, maybe even like a meal for the homeless. Have people set up like a tent outside someplace and just get donations and have meals for the homeless in Freeport, Illinois. Just something like that. That's what I want to do. I know Gannon is going to be playing baseball this summer, so he's leaving me with a lot of stuff on my plate. But can't say I appreciate it. But he's ring chasing right now. He's ring chasing. But what do you got to say,
No,
Gannon?
I think just another cool avenue with what we've kind of experienced in this podcast so far is like once something has benefited our podcast or us individually with all this, I feel like it kind of impacts somebody else at the same time. Like just getting the local businesses involved with different stuff and with our three sponsors with Bacher Auto Brew, 312, even Sausage and Driftless Area Quality Wear. I think especially Driftless Quality Wear is Clayton Lieb, who's what couple years older than us.
Yeah.
He's a self-owned entrepreneur with a small town business is trying to make it big with his clothing brand. And if we can help him while he's helping us, I think that's a cool trade-off. And I think it's exposure for not only our stuff, but we can build off it with the other companies that we're getting involved in. I know we got other stuff in the works with some other people that we got to meet. It makes it difficult, obviously, with me going to be gone all summer for summer ball. But again, we're gonna rely on technology and do our best with this. But it's just cool because there's nobody. It feels like each thing we do here, there's more and more people that get involved with it. And I think that's kind of the cool group thing. And like that touches back to what Bryce said earlier with the community feel. I think more and more people are going to feel like they're involved in this and kind of feel like they got a piece in this. And that's kind of what we want at the end of the day.
Well, I think you've seen it already within our podcast. Like for example, the whole team that we have with our podcast is Keegan Gyland from Lena, Illinois. Kind of a kid that I wasn't necessarily friends with growing up, but now we've gotten closer, and he's an A15 guy. And I said, you know what, you're talented in a realm that I'm not talented in.
He does damn good work on it,
Yeah,
on the clip art.
And then we got Tanner Kuhl, who does our videos. He gets the overlays around our videos. About a week and a half ago, he was up till 4 a.m. He was at a hotel, staying at a hotel for his job, and he was still up 4 a.m. trying to get our video uploaded, file, have it rendered, and back into my Dropbox so I could get that. That's the behind the scenes work. And then you got Philip Mueller, Freeport, Illinois. He goes to Kansas now. He has made all of our graphic stuff, our art design, all that.
The stuff we've used now for 4 or 5 months. That's how good it is.
Ben Swords, he's done the same thing for us. He's been busy with baseball, but he's there when we need him. And then Josh Bisker, he's joined us on the last couple videos. He's probably me and Gannon's one of our best friends, and to have him on with us is great too. He's an Ackland graduate along with me. So when you take a seat back and you look at our team, it's 815 guys. We want our community involved. And like another cool thing about having Jamia in here is like this is I don't mean to like break any news, I guess, but like she's like, and with her being in here, this is her like first story. It's her 815 thing, and she gets to be a part of it too, which is special for us.
Bryce took that from me, by the way. I told him that earlier, but it's okay.
Yeah, okay. I think she's frozen. Oh, there she is. She's alive. But yeah, like that's the best part about it for me is having all these people that we keep getting involved with. They're all from our community, and I'm not going to say that we don't want to talk to other people outside of our community, but Why not?
We do. I mean,
Yeah, we have. I mean, we have talked to people like we talked to Coach Hines the other day. He's from California. He lives in California. That's like the connections you make are unbelievable. But in all reality, in order to bring this community together, bring them back together, I'd say not bring them together, bring them back together. We like we got there's a long road ahead, but at the end of the day, like people just doing positive things, it adds up. It consistently adds up. So for us to do something, if you're in the back of your head and you're listening to this episode, this is your sign to go do whatever you're thinking about doing. If you're scared to do it, just freaking do it. Just do it. Like it will bring positivity and you'll be the next success story in your own community. Just do it. What you got?
no, you want me? You good? Just
Yeah,
do it. You
I
gonna
was
sign up for Nike or what? You doing a
yeah, I
commercial for
guess. I don't
Nike?
know. I was in the zone for a minute. But yeah.
No, and I think that's the biggest thing that I kind of like from this that we're doing with the is really like the no capstone in the community. There's no capstone with our podcast and the freedoms that we're going with this. We're just going with the flow with a lot of this stuff, and that ranges, like we said, from high school athletes, college athletes. It's all different sports, different professions, all that type of stuff. It makes me, and I know makes Bryce excited, everybody else, for what the future has for all this, because there's an unknown. Because if you tell me what the next 5 to 6 months looks like for the rest of 2021, I can't tell you. I can't answer that question other than probably what we're doing for the next week or two for special guests we got lined up, and maybe not even for next week's topic. But that's the cool thing about it. We don't know, but we also know. That's it. It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. We know it's going to come. We don't know at the moment what exactly it's going to be, and that's it's different because we have freedom with this. Everything else in your life, you kind of have to fit a schedule and a structured thing with school, sports. You got to do this. You know, if people are telling you do this, don't do that. You're getting graded. All this. There's nobody telling us what's right and wrong on this podcast, and I think it gives us something. And we're 20 years old, and it's kind of a cool feeling.
Well, you're right when you said you don't know what the next 5 to 6 days are going to bring you, because after 2020, I mean, we may have an alien drop down tomorrow, and this podcast may never exist again. But that's who knows what's going to happen. That's the thing. But we also do have in the back of our mind, we have a plan. So in order for a community to come together, in order for a community to be on the right path, you have to have a plan. We have to have a plan, and having that plan, whatever it entails, will help you be successful. And without this podcast, let me just say, this podcast would not be anything if we didn't have a plan of how we were going to go at it. And I mean, there's changes, there's different routes that we take. We hop off one path, get on another one, but at the end of the day, there's still a plan that's set in motion that helps us. It helps us keep going. Without that plan, we probably would have stopped after the first 5 to 6 episodes, and then what? And there's nothing. And there's nothing. So you just glitched a little bit, Gannon. You was shot back and then shot up.
Yeah,
iPad
you're
twitching
glitching too.
I'm glitching.
No, you're glitching on me too.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I'm gonna ask. Let's ask Jamia if she's still muted. What is a community to you, and what do you think, or how do you think the best way
It's
to
a big
serve?
part of her job. Yeah, kind of how is that
Yeah.
tied
So how does it entail within your
reporting?
job? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Y'all both like start talking at the same time, so I don't really know what you
Ask
say.
it, Gannon. Ask it.
Kind of build off of what we were talking about with community, how that incorporates with your job and just every day going in and out of the community, and you go to different communities. Kind of talk about that in your experience.
Right. So basically, I go, like I said, everywhere. One day I can go from Belvedere to Oregon to Freeport, like all in a day. And it's just, I guess, making those connections, talking to people, seeing people come together at different events, or just getting their story out so I can tell it and get more people to where they are. So it's just basically, trying to get people together no matter what, even when stuff is going wrong somewhere, like in Rockford, there can be something going on, where police are investigating, and then Friday or whatever, you go to City Market, bring the community together, and just, try to make that connection.
That I like.
Go, Bryce. You're good.
I like that the last word and that whole thing. You said connection. And that's really what it is. Like, in order to have a great community, there has to be connections made. Whether it's you reporting on a car accident in Rockford or a shooting, or you're going to an event, bringing the community together. Uh, the biggest thing with that is you're keeping people informed, and like you said, you're telling a story. And Gannon and I are similar in that aspect. We want to tell stories, and I think that's just. I feel like in order to do that, like you just have to be like made that way. Like, because some people don't like to talk. Some people don't feel the need to tell a story. But telling someone else's story, I feel like it makes us happy in our own way too, because you brighten someone else's day by giving a story, giving a successful story, or just telling someone about someone else's personality. I think it's a good way to kind of unlock a different, unique relationship. Like, for example, with Coach Hines, when we were talking to him, like Gannon and I said in the recording, uh, we have never had a conversation with this man in our entire lives. But the conversation was great and it brought us together. And now we have instant connection, instant contact with the guy, all because we sat here on a Zoom and just talked. I mean, granted, we talked football, but no matter what you're talking about, it's going to bring people together because hearing one side of a story, there's always another side to it. Someone else has a different story than you, and you can find ways to relate too, and it just brings people back together. That's the biggest thing I think
Yeah,
about
I
it.
think the cool thing from what I took from what Jamia said was kind of the whether it's a police investigating something to the city market all within maybe a day. That's kind of the cool thing of community because it's through the ups and downs. Same with how we're going with our podcast. Like I talked about, some days you don't want to, some days you do it. There's ups and
Mhm.
downs with all of it, and that's all intervene in whatever you do in your life, community based, school based, athletic based, all that type of stuff. So that was kind of what I took away from that. But what else you want to talk about, Bryce? Dive into something else. I mean, we've covered a lot. What else?
I think we're good for the day. I think we talked on
I
exactly what we wanted to touch on the community aspect of things and kind of explain a more personal view of it. And it was great to have Jamie in here, get to listen to what we had to say, and I'm glad she was able to join us. And I'll let you wrap this one up, Gannon.
Yeah, I think kind of before I get into it, I know I talked to Bryce first. I think before this, we wanted. I told Bryce, I said, let's be a little selfish this time, kind of reflect on what we've done over these past 5 6 months, kind of take a little reflection back off that. But yeah, thank you, Jamia, for joining in with this. You guys will stay tuned for more and more coming up in the next couple of weeks. But just shout out to our sponsors again: 312 Beef and Sausage, Driftless Area Wear, and Bacher Auto Group. Keep mentioning them each week because they're a big part of why we're doing this and how they're helping us out. But keep viewing, liking, and subscribing our YouTube channel. And let us know anything on our own social media pages or the Art of Football pages, and let us know how we can improve it for you guys.
For sure. The last thing I want to say is obviously thank you, Jamia. Thanks, Gannon. This was a great conversation. But for anyone who's listening, if you want to impact your community, spread positivity because it's freaking contagious. And with that positivity, I promise you the community will accept you and support you. Tune in. This episode will drop Friday. Tune into this one, and then we'll have another one coming Saturday for you guys.